true.
Carabao True. Oh, I guess you can't hear anything.
Blue. Oh, something kush. Blue.
Hello.
Yeah, Blue.
Hello.
Showing me the video, like they show me near you. Fucking idiot. People so retarded.
Hello, everyone. We're just waiting, I guess, for a few more people and our speakers to arrive.
Here, where am I? Cannabis. I saw this thing where they like.
We don't have music on hold.
See,
Unfortunately, we don't.
non-licensed cannabis dispensaries reported here. This is me. How are people gonna know what's licensed or not? That is totally ridiculous. But like,
Hi, this is Pascal Bernard from the Office of Cannabis Management. I'm here. I'm going to need to be able to share my screen.
You should be able to.
Okay, perfect. So just let me know when you guys are ready for me to start. I know people are probably still logging on.
Okay, we're waiting for a few more people to arrive. Thanks so much.
Hello? 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 Yes, I'm on for the informational meeting.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We're just waiting for a couple more people to get on and we'll be starting. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Michelle. We're going to just start now. As people come in, they can just catch up. I just want to welcome Miss Pascal Bernard from OCM, Office of Cannabis Management. Thank you so much for being here.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we can start.
Okay, awesome. Let me get myself. Can you see my screen? Okay, awesome. So want to thank you all for inviting us to join you this evening.
One second, Pascal. Can you make it a little larger? It's not filtering.
Let me start all over. I apologize. Um, I'm trying to put it in slideshow mode. I apologize. Oh, view. Does that work?
Much better.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can clearly.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry about that. So again, thank you
problem.
so much for inviting us to participate in your meeting tonight. I'm just going to run through the slides, and then typically that takes about 25 minutes or so, and then do about 25 minutes of 25, 30 minutes of Q&A. And you know, that will be it. So if you could just please hold your questions until I'm done with the slides, because sometimes you want to ask a question and it's the answer is 2 slides down. All right, thank you. So what is legal in the state of New York? Adults over 21 years can possess up to 3 ounces of cannabis flower, 24 grams of concentrate, cannabis oils, tinctures, edible vapes. And cannabis can be consumed in a private home or state licensed on-site consumption sites. Currently, there are no licensed on-site consumption sites, and vaping and smoking cannabis is allowed anywhere vaping and smoking tobacco isn't allowed. We'll flag that if you live in public housing, cannabis is legal at the state level. It is not legal at the federal level. It is still an illicit drug. And so people that live in NYCHA will not be able to consume cannabis. So the Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act, we call it MRTA or MARTA, was signed into law on March 31st of 2021. And what it did is it created the Office of Cannabis Management, which is and also the Cannabis Control Board, which is a 5-member board that, you know, really is the one that licenses all the licensees. It also created a 20-member cannabis advisory board. It legalized adult use recreational cannabis while also expanding the state's existing medical cannabis and cannabinoid hemp program. And really what it did is it shifted the whole discussion of cannabis really to a public health framework. As you can see on this slide, you know, at the center of it is public health. And so I like to call this a 3-legged stool, right? The seat is public health, but you see it also involves public safety, social justice, and economic development. So the MRTA emphasizes social and economic justice. It automatically expunged past marijuana convictions for a number of New Yorkers. It also invests 40% of adult use tax, cannabis tax revenues will go towards communities that were disproportionately impacted by prohibition. And it set a goal of awarding 50% of all adult use licenses to social and equity and economic equity applicants. And so that would include people from communities that were disproportionately impacted by prohibition, distressed farmers, disabled veterans. And it also, what we do here in the state is we have a weight-based tax. The weight-based tax is replaced by a THC per milligram tax. And so this is remember, it's a three-legged stool. So this is the leg that's the economic development leg. And here you can see, the higher the THC, the higher the tax on the product. 9% sales, 9% state excise tax on sales of cannabis product by retailers to a consumer. 4% will go local excise tax. So 25% to the county, 75% to the city, town, or village. And so we have the state cannabis revenue fund. And so all cannabis revenues will be deposited into this fund. And really think about this as it relates to the revenues, 40-40-20, right? 40% will go towards education, 40% will go towards community grant reinvestment, and 20% will go towards drug treatment and public education. And these community grant reinvestments, the grants will go to nonprofit and community-based organizations in communities, again, that were disproportionately impacted by prohibition. And the drug treatment will go towards developing and implementing statewide public education campaign. Even before we opened any dispensaries, OCM started with, public education, educating people about, cannabis and what the law is and isn't. Opportunities in the industry. So the MRTA outlines 9 different license types, and here you have them on the screen. I think, I call this the Beyonce of license types because, who doesn't want to be Beyonce, right? The retail dispensary. But as you can see, there are a number of different licenses. And so there are really a lot of opportunities for people to enter this industry. There's the on-site consumption, there's cultivator, nursery, processor, distributor, delivery, adult use cooperative, and micro business. So again, there are many points of entry. A lot of people, I think, focus on the retail dispensary, but really there are so many other licenses that people, we encourage people to go onto our website and really kind of look at all the different license types. And so here we're doing a tiered system. And what does a tier system look like? This is what it looks like. We have the supply tier, which encompasses cultivator, nursery, distributor, processor. We have the retail tier, which is dispensary, on-site consumption, and delivery. We have the medical tier. And so the registered organization, these are the organizations that were in our medical cannabis program. And once again, legalization happened, we moved that program into under the umbrella of OCM. And then we have the laboratory tier. And so these are the sampling firms. And remember when I talked about the 3-legged stool, right? The seat of that stool is public health. And so the laboratory tier is really important for that. And, what we're trying to do is really, again, create multiple entry points and opportunities for people to enter the industry here in the state. And so no person may have direct or indirect interest across tiers. This includes any stock ownership. And we have what we call the ancillary businesses, right? And so there are many ways to be part of this cannabis industry. And for these examples on this slide, you do not need a license from the Office of Cannabis Management. all you need to do is know what our regulations are, turnkey your existing company to service the cannabis industry, and you can be part of the industry. And, you know, our executive director, Chris Alexander, and our board chair, Tremaine Wright, they always talk about creating a healthy cannabis ecosystem. And so these ancillary businesses really are part of that creation of a healthy cannabis ecosystem. And so if you are, for example, a real estate agent, you know, you can enter this business by helping site locations for people who are looking to have a dispensary or an on-site consumption lounge. If you are a designer or a retail design firm, right, understand what the packaging, what our regulations for the packaging look like, and to be able to design packaging based on our regulation for people in the industry. And so there are lots of different ways, transportation, as it relates, secure transportation, as it relates to security, right? If you have a security firm, armored trucks. And so again, there are lots of different entry points to the cannabis industry and in the ancillary businesses as well. And we need healthy, thriving ancillary businesses so that we can have a healthy, thriving cannabis ecosystem. Conditional licenses. And so there are two different pathways that to enter. And so as I spoke before, the MRTA licenses, it's 9 license types, and the licenses were included in our November 21st proposed regulations, with the exception of the on-site consumption lounges. And so that's the MRTA. But to jumpstart the industry here in the state, OCM, Office of Cannabis Management, OCM created a set of conditional licenses. And so these were standalone conditional licensing system. And really think about it as creating a micro cannabis ecosystem in the state. And so we have the adult use conditional cultivator license, the adult use conditional processor license, and the adult use retail dispensary license, which we call CARD. And so, you know, it's the conditional cultivator, you grow it, the conditional processor, you process it, and then we get to the retail point of sales. And so, as you can see, for the adult use conditional cultivator, we've issued thus far 279 licenses with additional applications under review. For the adult use conditional processor, we've issued 40 licenses with additional licenses under review. And for the conditional adult use retail dispensary license, we've issued 66 licenses with additional licenses under review. And so to get a CARD license, applicants had to qualify for it. And to be eligible for CARD, there were 2 pathways. There was one for nonprofits, and the nonprofit organization had to be intentionally servicing justice-involved individuals and was engaged in social enterprise and had to meet other requirements. We also had a pathway for individuals. And so the individuals had to be someone with a New York State cannabis-related conviction and experience owning and operating a qualifying business. And additionally, eligible family members could have also applied for the CARD license. And so eligible family member would be a parent or guardian, a child or dependent, a spouse or ex-spouse with proper documentation. Enforcement. So OCM, the MRTA gives OCM enforcement powers over licensed businesses. We work very closely with local authorities around issues of unlicensed cannabis operators. And our enforcements include identifying unlicensed operators, seizing illicit cannabis, fines, and store closures. And here in New York City, we work very closely with the NYPD, the New York City Sheriff's Department. At times, there are other agencies brought into this multi-agency task force, such as the Department for Worker Protection. Depending on the situation, it could also be City DOHMH. And so OCM Enforcement Division has been conducting investigations, again, with the NYPD and the Sheriff's Department on illicit cannabis operators since January of 2022. We routinely confer with local DAs and law enforcement, as I said. Here in the city, it's the Sheriff's Department and the PD. And our investigators work on multi-agency task force to shut down illicit shops. And, you know, our division continues to staff up. It is actually the fastest growing division, and it will be, you know, one of the largest in the agency. And, you know, across the state, they're visiting illicit stores, issuing cease and desist letters to stores conducting themselves illicitly, and assisting local law enforcement in their investigations around illicit stores. You know, we have an enforcement, and here you see some enforcement actions. These are actually in the city. And I really want you to pay attention to, you know, what's in the pictures here. You're seeing what the stores look like. You're seeing the products in the shelves like this. You're seeing the storefront with the leaf on it. You know, this last picture for Lex Hemp, you see a portion of the cannabis leaf, and you see the really neon lights and things like that. That is not what a licensed dispensary will look like. This is a very regulated industry. These are illicit operators. And as you can see, our team is in there. Again, we work closely with the New York City Sheriff's Department, as well as working with the NYPD. And our enforcement department, collectively, they have over 250 years of experience. Here you're seeing more pictures. This is not what it will look like. You know, it is against our regulation, as you can see in the picture on with the empty shelves. You can see, I think that's Charlie Brown. Nothing in the store should be appealing to children. It should not appeal to children. It should not appeal to anyone under 21. And in the other picture with the shelf stock, the shelves are open. That is not how it looks in, again, a licensed, regulated dispensary. These illicit smoke shops are nothing like the dispensaries. And so there is a way for, you know, involved community residents like you to also report suspected violations to us. And you can do it at complaints@ocm.ny.gov, or you can go to our website, cannabis.ny.gov/report-and-incident. And as much as possible, if you can provide us with, you know, as much information on this screen as you can, it will be helpful, because what it does is it allows our enforcement team to begin their investigation without having to go back and forth a lot with the complainant to gather information. So as much as possible, if you can include the name of the business, the time of the alleged illicit activity, location of the alleged illicit activity, if you can safely get pictures without endangering yourself, that would also be helpful, and indicate if you know if there's been previous police contact, such as 911 calls, and proximity to sensitive use locations. Regulated dispensaries, the dispensaries that we're licensing, they have to be 500 feet away from a school and 200 feet away from a house of worship. And so a lot of these smoke shops literally are on top of schools. They're like next door, 2 doors down. That is not what the regulated market looks like. Again, it will have to be 500 feet away from a school, 200 feet away from a house of worship. The caveat is if the location has multiple use, then it negates that. So, for example, if a school is in a building that maybe the school is on 3 floors and then there are other things in that building, then it's not exclusively a school. If a house of worship is a senior center and predominantly uses that and only has worship service, you know, on the weekends or what have you, then it's not exclusively used as a house of worship. And we also ask for your contact information in the event that our investigators need to ask you more questions. And I think this is the part that you guys, I think enforcement, as we do these around the city, I think enforcement and then the role of the community boards are the two really portions that folks tend to be more interested in. And so the community boards, per cannabis law, community boards and municipalities are allowed the opportunity to express an opinion on whether they support the Cannabis Control Board's approval of a retail dispensary, on-site consumption lounge, or registered organization dispensing, getting a license in their area. Community boards do not have a role in any of the other license types. And so that means the nursery, the cultivator, the processor, the distributor. People or businesses who apply for a cannabis retail dispensary, including registered organizations with a dispensing license or on-site consumption, should submit a notification that their proposed location is within the boundary of the community board prior to filing their application. Applicants need to be mindful that community board's opinion will be part of the record upon which the Cannabis Control Board shall grant or deny an application for a cannabis license. Applicants should afford the appropriate amount of time needed for the community board to opine on the proposed cannabis location. And so I will say that for the conditional adult retail dispensary licenses for card, it is slightly different in that they get provisionally licensed and then they come to the community board. But for the MRTA licenses, they have to provide the community board with notification prior to getting their license. So both licenses, they have to come before the community board though. And I'm sure there'll be some questions, so we can get into that a little bit after the slides. So on October 28th of 2022, we issued, the requirements and expectations for card dispensaries, including inventory. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm trying to get back. I apologize. There we go. Here we go. So on October 28, 2022, we issued expectations for dispensaries, including inventory tracking, staffing and training, location security, facility requirement, purchasing, security, branding, marketing, signage. And all licensees will have to review and sign an attestation agreeing to comply with the requirements. Again, this is a heavily regulated market. And so everybody has to, again, attest that they will abide by our regulations. And so here you see what some of the packaging outlines were, right? So as you can see, the application and license selection and renewal process, the package outlined the application and licensing selection process, the role municipalities play in regulating cannabis businesses, time, place, and manner, key social and economic programs. And so all of this were in our proposed regulations, which we put out on November 21st of 2022. And so the regulations were filed with the Department of State on December 14th. And then there was a 60-day public comment period, which ended February 13th. And so now we're in the process of reviewing all the wonderful recommendations that New Yorkers from across the state made to us. And if we make substantial changes to the regulations, we then have to put them back out for a 45-day public comment period. And thereafter, we'll issue the permanent regulations. And so these were the MRTA proposed regulations that we put out. Again, very regulated market. And so staffing and training, all dispensaries have to have one employee in charge. And that is the person, if there is ever a need to pick up the bat phone and call a dispensary for whatever reason, no matter what time of day or night, that individual has been identified by the dispensary as the person that receives the call. There is age requirement for participating in the industry. Additionally, all staff have to go through training. There's a written manual, curriculum requirements, record keeping. And so everybody, all the dispensary staff have to go through these trainings. Advertising and signage, as I said, this is a regulated market. And so the external signage is limited to 2 signs, no images, logos, or symbols. Remember the pictures that we saw from the smoke shops, the illicit operators. Again, these dispensaries will not look like that. For delivery locations, there's no external sign, and the website must include an age gate, and it has to comply with the packaging, marketing, labeling, and advertisement guidance that we've put out. And as you can see on this, it asks, are you 21 years of age? And I actually went on one of our dispensary sites because I said, well, if I'm going to be talking about this, I should try to see, what it looks like. And actually at several points, I was asked about my age, like, are you over 21? And so sales and transaction, there will be menu prices. There will be menus and prices. And so people know what the product is and what the price is for the product. And again, remember when we talked about, how we're taxing, it's the higher the THC, the higher the tax. And for a customer transaction, there has to be age verification, and the bud tender has the right to refuse sales and has the right to do single day limits. And so when you go into a bar, you have a bartender. When you go into a dispensary, it is a bud tender. Additionally, the bud tenders will be educated on the product so that when the consumer asks questions, they're able to answer the questions and know what the products are at the sale. And as you can see in this picture, remember again, the picture for the smoke shops, everything was just out in the open. You see here, there are these lockers, right? The steel lockers in the back. And here you see the product is encased. That is also locked up. It doesn't look, you don't see anything that, is cartoonish and would appeal to children. And so again, the dispensaries, it's a very regulated market and it will not look like these illicit smoke shops. And that brings me to the end of my slideshow. If you have upcoming events that you'd like to share with us, and you can always invite us to attend at events@ocm.ny.gov. And I encourage you all to sign up for our website to get updates from us. And that would be cannabis.ny.gov. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then I will let you all kind of direct the Q&A.
Thank you so much. Michelle, you had something to say? You're on now.
Yes. Hi, Pascal. Can you speak to the distance between legalized cannabis shops? I don't remember hearing that.
So there is a 1,000-foot radius circular between the shops. And so what we're not going to do, remember pre-pandemic, there was a Starbucks on every corner. That is not what we're going for. Again, we want to create a healthy cannabis ecosystem. And so there is a distance requirement between the dispensaries, and that's 1,000-foot full circle.
Also, can you give us an update on the lawsuit that restricts Brooklyn from having cannabis shops at this moment?
So I really don't have a whole lot. I can tell you that the state attorney general is representing the state of New York. And as you know, she is a fierce Brooklynite. And so we are in good hands with Attorney General Tish James. The lawsuit continues to go through the legal system. I don't have any specific updates about it. We're hopeful that there will be a resolution soon because it does impact here in New York City, impacts Brooklyn, and it impacts a large portion of upstate. It's Brooklyn, Westchester, Rochester, Buffalo. So it has had an impact. However, I will say, while we're not issuing licenses in those areas, it does not mean that we're not reviewing applications and doing the work so that when we are able to license people in the injunction areas, we will be able to, move with deliberate speed.
So to be clear, there are no legal cannabis shops in Brooklyn at the moment.
Correct. The only legal cannabis shops in New York City right now, and this is just by happenstance, not by design on our part, are all in Manhattan. And so there are 3 currently legal shops in Manhattan. We have another shop in Binghamton, New York. And today it was announced that we will be opening another shop in Ithaca, New York. So we have 3 in the city and we will have 2 upstate.
So if anyone sees any cannabis shops currently operating in Brooklyn, they are all illegal. So either report them to the community board office or report them directly to OCM. So there are no legal cannabis licenses currently issued in Brooklyn.
Correct.
So everyone that you see right now is illegal.
Yes.
Thank you. I just have a few questions, Pascal. I'm Irsa Weatherspoon, chairperson of CB8. First of all, thank you for this presentation. I just wanted to make sure that the district office will receive this presentation deck.
Yes, actually,
Awesome.
so typically what happens is it's like 2 of us, or it's actually 3 of us from my team, but 2 people had to do something in Albany. So I'm doing this solo. But typically, as we're doing this, we're also putting links in the chat. And so what's going to happen is within 48-hour period, the district office will get the slide deck and we'll also get all the links that typically go in the chat because we put it in the chat and then we send it as well. And so it's a lot of information and it's really good and updated information. And so hopefully everybody will be able to, take a look at it.
Wonderful. Thank you. So here are the couple questions I have. After the cease and desist letters go out, what is the time frame of the next steps?
So it's hard to say it's hard to say what the time frame is. I will tell you that our enforcement team, they're very good. Again, collectively they have over 250 years of experience, and they've been in enforcement either at various state agencies and some even at local agencies, either here in New York City or in other parts of the state. And so they send the cease and desist letters, and then they engage in their investigations. They don't really tell us really what they're doing and how they're doing it because they don't want to jeopardize the investigation. And so it's hard, and that's why it's hard for me to kind of give you what a time frame looks like.
Okay, I appreciate that. Also, what happens to that business that is shut down illegally? Does that proprietor have the opportunity to have another business in this industry?
We've been really clear that people who engage and continually engage in illicit activities jeopardize their opportunities to enter the regulated market.
Okay, I think that's important to know. And then my final inquiry, the last meeting that we had with Mr. Alexander, he mentioned that community boards are not involved in the renewal process, but I think that we should be made aware when some of these entities are up for renewal because we may have complaints. And I think it's important that we are notified just in case we have complaints. So if you could note that as well, that would be appreciated.
Yes, thank you for that feedback. We definitely will. I definitely will pass that on.
Okay, so I'm going to just get back to Michelle, George, and Ms. Tyus.
One last thing, your links are not in the chat. It's actually in captions and highlights. So if anyone's looking for it, they can find it in captions and highlights. Bottom right, click on the 3 dots, and that's where you'll see it. That's what I saw.
Thank you, Ms. Tyus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 2 questions. One, you mentioned that the staffing of the licensees would require one person to be on point 724. Did I understand that correctly?
So the dispensary has to. Okay, okay, ooh, it worked. Sorry, I will get to your question. So I just literally copied and pasted everything in the chat for everybody. And so these are also the links that will be emailed to the board. Because sometimes, when I just do a full cut and paste, it doesn't work and we have to do it, individually. But yay, the internet gods are with us today. Yes, the dispensaries have to identify one person that should there be any kind of incident at the dispensary, should our regulators go in and something is not as it should be, if there is just any kind of adverse incident, either in the location where the dispensary is or in the dispensary itself, there should be the dispensary has to identify one person that receives that call.
Thank you.
And so that person is the point of contact for our regulators and our office. Yes.
Okay, that's comforting to know. It's clear that it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
They get the back call. Yes.
Okay, and that's available to the public.
The individual?
Yes.
No, that's not available to the public.
Okay.
That's available to our regulators in our office.
Only to the regulators. Okay,
Yes.
That part is clear. Thank you very much. And regarding what is on sale, you mentioned part of the process would be testing and verification of the potency. So
Yes.
anything that we see on sale in these stores that are licensed has been tested.
Yes, the products are tested. That's why, if you remember the slide that had the different tiers, that last tier was laboratory.
Right.
And so the laboratories are very important. And again, the MRTA really shifted the whole conversation of cannabis, marijuana, weed, blunt, whatever it is you want to call it, from public safety to public health. And so that's that is the links don't work.
One link, the guard.
That's why this happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. But yes, so it shifted it from public safety to public health, and it is precisely because of that. We want to make sure that people that walk into the dispensaries in New York State know that these are tested products, they can trust it. And there are some people, who are long-term cannabis users. And then there's canna curious, right? People who are curious, like, hey, what would it be like to get a gummy? It doesn't matter. And so those are the two ends of the spectrum. Whether you're on either end or you're somewhere in the middle, you will be able to go into these licensed dispensaries and know that the products are tested.
Thank you very much. One last comment I have to make. There is a dispensary near on Nostrand, somewhere between Sterling and Park Place or Prospect. Gummies, they're edibles that they're dispensing. So I have to
So that's not a dispensary, that's a smoke shop.
Okay, and that's okay?
They're illicit.
Oh, okay, it's
So,
illicit,
yes.
period, okay. All
Yeah,
right,
so
I
they're
will
doing
check
wrong. So
I'll check the
please,
address and pass it up to the board office.
yes.
I have them on my list. It's 609 Nostrand Avenue.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
We are well
Thank
aware.
you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. This has been very informative.
My
Thank you, Ms.
pleasure.
Tice. And any more questions from the audience?
I have another one.
Wait,
Are
wait.
CBD dispensaries legal?
Yes, so CBD also licensed by the Office of Cannabis Management. And so you can go into CBD stores that are licensed by us and again, know that you're getting safe products. So now I'm kind of putting the things in individually.
I see it.
And so
Yeah,
hopefully the links will work now.
great.
It's always like a catch-22 with these things. I apologize.
I just have a question. Mr. Thurton, just give me a moment. Can you, since the smoke shop has just been mentioned, what signage is available to distinguish a smoke shop from a CBD
Perfect.
distillery?
We actually have a verification tool where it should have the dispensary should have it on their window, and you can just use your cell phone to you know, access the QR code. It's one of my links. I'm talking and trying to find it. Here it is. And so it will show you where all our dispensaries are.
So I guess let me just be clear. As we're like driving down the street, is there some sort of signage that makes it really clear what is a smoke shop and what is a distillery or
So
CBD business?
The verification tool is really the thing that would be able to make that clear. And so it's going to be hard as you're driving to be able to do that, but it will be prominently on the window of the dispensary. And so that's the best way for you to be able to know.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thurton.
All right, thank you. Questions. How many dispensaries do we have on hold for Brooklyn?
So off the top of my head, I don't know that number specifically, but just give me a minute. It's in one of the links that I can't put on yet. I do apologize.
It's okay.
You know, we're a tiny but mighty team, and when the three of us are together, we are like a well-oiled machine. But when you're flying solo, you know, there's some bumps in the road.
Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing real good.
I appreciate that. Let me try to find that for you. But so what we did for the card was we broke the state up via the state economic development regions. And so in the 5 boroughs, in New York City, each borough is its own region. And so based on population, people were, boroughs were assigned the maximum number of dispensaries that they can have. And so I just have to pull that up for you.
And do you have an estimate of what you will be approving? I mean, is there a limitation of what you're going to be approving for next year? Do you have a quantity that a max, or you do it per year, or how do you plan on doing it?
So for the conditional adult retail dispensary licenses card, we have, we will be issuing about 300 licenses across the state. But again, remember, these conditional licenses were just to jumpstart the industry. For the MRTA licenses, there is no cap, so to speak, but we're also going to, slowly grow the business and look at what market forces are. We don't want to oversaturate. We also don't want to undersaturate. So we're looking to find that sweet spot. And so while that's not a clear, clean answer, because people want to hear 20, right? It's not a clear answer, but it is the best way to move forward, because again, we're trying to create a healthy cannabis ecosystem. And to do that, we need to be very systematic, and we need to grow the business in a way that makes sense for the state and for the individual business owners. If that makes sense.
I mean, with the hours of operations, how does that work? Is the community board going to have a discussion on it? Or do the dispensers say that they want to be open 12, 14, 24 hours, or how does it work?
So let me, again, that is in our attachments. So I'm going to, this is kind of like a big attachment. It is the due diligence list. Okay, this one's the 9 pages. So I will put this in here. And so the dispensaries will have a minimum amount of hours. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find. So it's 70, I think the floor is 70, anywhere between 70, 72 hours a week. And the municipality can allow them to extend hours beyond that for any time after 2 and between 8 in the morning. Unfortunately, right, the way New York City works, it's a little different in that the community board acts as the municipality, but the community boards don't have the jurisdiction to be able to make those kind of tweaks that would come under the purview of the city council. But so there is that, but it's in the links that hopefully you guys are able to open as I'm putting them in individually.
Okay, so the links indicate the amount of the hours that they close, or what is it that they don't have to close?
Yes, it gives the floor, the floor for the least amount of hours of operations.
I mean,
yes.
Is there a max?
Again, the municipality can extend hours beyond, because they're not operating between the hours of, I believe, 2 in the morning to 8 or 9 in the morning. And so municipalities can extend that if they choose to, but here in the city, that's under the purview of the city council. But I will double check and we'll make sure that that's bolted out in the email when I send it tomorrow.
Okay, one more question, Michelle. Home delivery, what's going on with that? I mean, how are you guys gonna, I mean, how does that work? Everybody does home delivery. I mean, they got home delivery for liquor. You know, I'm gonna get home delivery for my herb, so I don't have to leave the house. That's how it works now?
The herb.
You are able to go online and order for delivery. And so again, there are points in that process where you know, the age verification question comes up. But even for the delivery sites, the delivery locations, they have to follow our regulations. And so as with the dispensary, so there's no signage, there's none of those things. It will be that you can walk by a delivery site and not know that it's a delivery site. But yes, delivery is part of it. It is one of the licenses that were in the MRTA. It is one of the licenses. And some of the card locations are initially doing pop-ups where they're open for a number of weeks and also offer delivery. And then they'll, you know, as they kind of get the location fully prepared for full operation.
I mean, but if you're doing delivery, why do you need a brick and mortar location if you're going to be doing delivery service? It costs too much to set up an operation. I might as well do delivery straight up and don't have to worry about all that.
So for the MRTA licenses, that is one of the licenses, and thank you for that, because a lot of people gravitate towards the retail dispensary. But for the MRTA licenses, delivery is one of the licenses.
So that means you can have one operations for the borough of Brooklyn and deliver throughout Brooklyn as a whole?
You won't be able to deliver throughout Brooklyn as a whole per se. There, you know, we're still working out, you know, what that will look like, and it's in our proposed regulations. So you know, I can't really comment too much on that. But if you go to, and I'll pop that in the link, I mean, in the chat, if you go to our proposed regulations, you'll be able to look at what the proposed regs are for all the license types, except the consumption lounges, because we're in the process of writing that now.
Okay, I'm sorry, Michelle, and the payment on that, and I know this is a cash only, you don't do credit cards. How does that work with the delivery? Are you going to set up an account, or, you know, how does it work? I mean, you guys start this one out, right, on that one?
Yeah, so people have used debit cards, but it is a very cash heavy business. And we are in the process of working with state banks to be able to find some remedies to this, but you are right, it is a cash heavy business. So it's not a full answer. Some of that also is in our regulations, so.
It kind of has to be, because it's federally not legal. You know, in terms of specific banks, in terms of cash heavy and really identifying state banks, because it's federally not legal yet. Just wanted to say that. Are you done, Mr. Thurton?
Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, my thoughts about it is, why am I going to spend so much money investing in a location, multiple locations, when I can do delivery and avoid those taxes on investment in a location? I mean, it's much more profitable to just send it out, have my delivery boys send it out to whoever needs it, and then get them working. And I'll have a lot of guys out there working, delivering it to whoever I want. But then again, you're not able to monitor that because you don't know what I'm sending out.
So this is why there are 9 different license types, because we do need people to engage in delivery and to have the delivery license. And so hypothetically, if you were looking at, you know, our 9 different license types, you would be, with the way that you're talking and the way that you're thinking, you would be someone that, you know, would probably look at applying for a delivery license. A lot of this is in our proposed regs, and right now we're in the process of reviewing, so there's not a whole lot that I can say. So there's not a whole lot that I can say, and we did get a lot of responses, a lot of public comments for our proposed regs, and so I do anticipate that we're probably going to put them back out for another, you know, once we make the tweaks to them, we'll probably put them out again for another 45-day public comment period. And I do encourage you all to, you know, either as a full board or in combination with some other community boards in your area, come together and take a look at it and to engage in that public comment period. Because really what the public comment period is, the same way we're having a conversation, that's really what it is. It's a conversation between government and constituents, right? And so when we put out the proposed regs, we're saying, hey, this is what I think. And then the public comment is for you to say, well, this is what I think. And so it really is important. And we do send the information out to the board. So you guys, you know, once we put it out again, someone from our office, most likely someone from my team, will be sending out the information to all the boards. And so you'll have it that way. And actually, I believe yesterday, you know, your chair mentioned the meeting with Chris. We sent out a recording and we sent out the slides. So we sent it to all the community boards. So you guys should have it. Adam on my team sent it out. So just check the emails for those.
Thank you. Ms. George, before you say something, I just want to say to Mr. Thurton's point, it is about a choice of your business model, what you want to do, whether you're delivery or you're setting up shop, correct? You said there are about 9 licenses, so you just decide on what works for you, right?
Yes. Yes. And I will say there are, you know, we know people who were and are in the legacy market, right? And you know, some of the legacy operators, they want to enter the regulated market, and so they may even look at nursery. You know, they may even look at that license because these are folks that were growing their own product, right? And so they're created certain strands. And so there are 9 license types, and you know, I strongly encourage people to really look at all 9 license types and figure out what really, if they're interested in entering the industry, what really, you know, speaks to them and their strengths and their business model, and where they can enter and you know, hopefully be successful. You know, it's not just because we're in the city doesn't mean it's all about retail, I guess is
right.
what I'm saying.
You're not pigeonholed. Yeah, absolutely. Ms. George?
I just have a few quick questions, and then Audrey Tate Hall put a question in the chat.
Yes, I noticed.
I know, you know, Office of Cannabis Management is modeling the regulations after the SLA regulations. And I know that the SLA has a small number of inspectors for the entire state. So I wanted to know if you guys were considering having a small number of inspectors for the entire state, or will you have inspectors that just inspect New York City?
So our 2 fastest growing divisions, enforcement and compliance. And so those are the 2 fastest growing divisions. We actually have 3 offices in the state. Well, we will have 3 offices by the time the summer comes around. We have an office in New York City, We, of course, have an office in the Capitol in Albany, and we will have an office in Buffalo. And so we will have staff in all 3 offices so that, we're able to really respond across the state, as a colleague of mine likes to say, from Buffalo to Plattsburgh. I'm sorry, from Long Island to Plattsburgh. We need to be able to engage with New Yorkers and to respond to the needs of New Yorkers. And so we will have people across the state. We have folks already here in the city, and again, because we have an office in New York City, and so New York City, Long Island, Westchester, we're everywhere. And we work very closely with the NYPD and with the Sheriff's Department, and we appreciate their partnership. And I just only see that partnership continuing to deepen as we open up more dispensaries, and we start to get into the MRTA licenses and things like that.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
One more thing. Will there be any restrictions on like Sunday sales for the dispensaries?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay, my last question. What's the difference between CBD and Delta 9 THC? Is there a difference?
There is. So the cannabis plant, it has THC in it. And so CBD is it's the same plant, right? It grows to a certain height. Once the THC level gets to a certain point, I think it's 0.3, it's CBD. When it gets past that, it becomes cannabis. So it all has THC in it. CBD has THC in it. It's just a lower amount. And I think you said Delta 9?
9.
Yeah, that's synthetic. And so that is not, that is not, like, we're not licensing for that.
Okay. And
Thank you. I just wanted to get to Miss Kate Hall's question. She's asking about the trucks that navigate through Times Square. Are they illegal and discontinued under your regulations?
They are illicit. They are not licensed, and we do not at this moment have a license for trucks. So as you saw in the 9 license types, there was no license type for trucks.
Thank you. I have a question also about the pop-up stores. How does that work? Someone can be licensed, they can receive a provisional license without having a location?
So what happens is they get a provisional license. They then, we provisionally license them. They provide the 30-day, let me look for that. So if I talk a little slow, it's because I'm trying to chew gum and walk. So they provide the 30-day, here it is, the notification, the notification to municipalities. And so they provide that notification, and they come before the board, the community board, and go through that process, or the municipality. And so that I just dropped it in the chat. And they secure their location, they do the build out to our regulations. Our compliance team goes in, make sure that everything is to our regulations, and then they're finally licensed. And so that's what that process looks like.
Okay, so that's for a place that has stability, a stationary place. What about the pop-up shops? Like, how does that work?
Well, they have to, it's the same process.
Same process, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So for example, oh God, I don't remember the name. Union Square Travel Agency, a cannabis store. That is the name of the store. So they are in a pop-up location as they're building out their permanent location. They are in Manhattan, in Manhattan CB2. So they had to go before CB2 for the pop-up location as they're building out the permanent location.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Third?
So wait. Can I just follow up on that? So when
Yes.
they come for the pop-up location, do they already have the permanent location's address, or will they come back when they get the permanent?
So in this case, they had the permanent location
Good
address.
question.
It literally is like 200 feet from where they currently are. And so they will be going back to CB2. I believe that was one of the steps that the dispensary agreed to go back to CB2.
So that's the best way to navigate it. When we hear these locations, if they don't have a permanent location, we can conditionally approve it and impose a stipulation that they come back to us once they get their permanent location.
So again, remember the community board, your opinion is advisory.
I'm aware of that.
Okay. So,
but you mentioned the stipulation. That's why I said, oh, so we can impose a stipulation that requires them to come back with a permanent location.
That was something that individual, that is not kind of the path forward, I think, but they signed it.
Okay.
Thank you. Is that it, Ms. George? Okay, just going to move on to Mr. Thurton. Okay, something may pop up, Mr. Thurton.
I'm sorry about this, but yeah, those two establishments that came for their license for Manhattan, one of them was looking to do home delivery. How are we identifying them on the website, which is a legitimate site to do to purchase your cannabis from, and which is not? I mean, because this is a brand new market. I mean, Amazon has changed the complexity. COVID has changed everything. No one wants to go out anymore. But how do you identify which site is legit, which one isn't? How are you going to make sure that we're getting tax revenue from this whole new industry that's coming out? And if you're saying that you put it online for home delivery, that's opening it up for everyone to get on track to say, hey, this is a website, I can deliver it to you anywhere you want, and take a look at what I have, and I have 100 of selections for you, and I can bring it right to your house for you. But how do you identify which is legit, and what kind of restrictions, how are you guys going to monitor that?
So if you look in the link that I just put in at 749, that is the location verification. And so if you click on that, you're able to, it tells you what the licensed dispensaries are, and there's a hyperlink, right? The only one that we don't have a hyperlink to as of yet, and that's just because they're not open like today, but they, I believe, are opening tomorrow, is the one in Ithaca. And so I will put a link to Smack Village for you. And so Smack Village was the first dispensary open in the state by an individual. So if you click on that, you're able to kind of go through and see what that process would look like should you choose to order online. But because I am not singling out one dispensary over another, I will also, oh, so it says delivery coming soon on Smack Village. I will also put like Housing Works for you and the others. So I'm not, favoring one dispensary over another. My disclaimer.
I know, but I mean, this is a whole new underground market that you're opening up?
No, we're not opening up an underground market, sir.
No,
We're
no.
opening up a regulated market.
No. Once it's online, it's opened up. Okay.
Yes, but it will be regulated.
I mean, we're talking about spots opening up on the strip that's illegal. That's something that you can see. You're taking it to another level on the web, where that you don't even know what is legit, and they can come up on a daily basis and go away, and there's no way to monitor it. I mean, this is something. I know that you guys don't have this under control yet, but this is something that you really need to analyze and see how are you going to be going about it.
Okay, and what I'm saying to you is that it's not underground. It will be a regulated market, and I'm dropping a whole bunch of links in the chat. Please go look at them. There is the verification. Again, I dropped it in the chat at 7:49. It takes you directly to our website, and you know what, you know, it answers your exact question. Or how do I know what's a legitimate business? Click onto the location verification, and it lists all the licensed, you know, dispensaries in the state right now. Additionally, I've put the hyperlink to all of them in the chat for you all, so you're able to go on and see. And so it's you know, the dispensaries that are licensed: Housing Works, Cannabis LLC, Smack Village, Just Breathe, Union Square Travel Agency, and again, as of tomorrow, it will be William Jane Corporation in Ithaca. So that's how you know which sites to go on, because we're telling you that these are the licensed dispensaries.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from anyone we have not heard from? Okay, Ms. George?
I don't have a question. I just have a funny comment. I just want to tell Mr. Thurton, please don't buy your herb on Amazon.
Wait, okay. This is a whole new market. Let's be for real. Okay. No, Amazon has taken the business to another level. They don't do the delivery themselves. They have other contractors doing it. Where now those contractors can also service Amazon, and they can service the herb department. Which one is more profitable? You know, they have the ways to go. But what I'm saying is that this is a whole new market that's coming about, and a whole new industry. And did we analyze if other states, what do they do? How did they limit? How did they restrict or oversees the online sales? Because we're new at this, and did the other states, do they have it? And what did we learn from them, or can we consult with them to make our situation, our sales profitable, taxable, and safe?
So I will say that we, for a number of years now, granted the law was passed in 2021, but the state has been working on this well before 2021. And so for years, actually, we've conferred with other states. We've looked at other jurisdictions that have gone before us, and we've learned from, you know, their successes, and we've also learned from their challenges. One of the things that I can say is we are the only state to start out with equity first. And that's a really big distinction. Mm-hmm. There are other states, they can't even get their equity program off the ground. And so I think that as New Yorkers, that's something that we should be very proud of, because that is a first. And, you know, it's not perfect. We have some growing pains, but we're leading in that way. Additionally, you know, everybody who works for the Office of Cannabis Management, we live in the state. I'm uptown right now. Like, I live in Harlem. I'm raising a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. There are days that, you know, I'm like, really, should I still be raising these people? But, you know, they're my broke roommates. I let them stay with me. All of that to say, you know, we live in the state. We care about the communities that we live in. We care about this state. And so we're going to put children, we're sending them to school, we're taking care of our elders here the same way everybody else is. And we understand that businesses don't exist in the land of business, they exist in communities.
Correct. I just have one final question from me, Pascal. You had shown us a slide of the ancillary businesses that come from this CBA cannabis industry. Where do you see resources that are lacking in that list that's needed?
I mean, I think that there are a lot of opportunities. I think that we haven't even tapped into 1/10 of 1% of it yet,
Okay.
because we're still slowly opening. I will say that I think for people who are interested in, participating in the ancillary businesses, they should definitely look at our regulations, and think about how to turnkey their businesses. If you are an accountant, how do you turnkey your business for cannabis?
Mm-hmm.
To serve that market.
Right.
This is an industry that will only grow. And while it's still illicit at the federal level, there are, on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats who are, pushing for legalization. And so it's not a matter of if, but when.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there are a lot of opportunities. And I think there are a lot of enterprising people in the city, in the state, who really can participate in this industry, and if I were talking to my friends, I'd be like, listen, there's a lot of chatter here. A lot of people can eat.
Find a space, right? Find a space. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you. Ms. Tyus? You're muted. You're still muted.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you give us the name of the court case and the venue before you go?
I will put that in the email because I don't know it top of mind, just because I'm not part of the general counsel's office. So I loosely know, details, but not granular where I can give you that information. But I will definitely make sure that when we email the things out, that is part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is our
I have a
final
question.
call for any questions. Who has a question, please?
Yes, I have a question. My name is
I'm
Timothy.
sorry. Oh, hello, Mr. Davis, please.
Thank you for the presentation. So I don't know if you answered this already. What are the licenses that are currently available, and what are the other licenses that are not available but will be coming soon?
So we have our conditional licenses. There are 3 of them. We have the conditional cultivator, conditional processor, and conditional adult retail dispensary, which we call CARD. And so the applications for those have all closed. And we've issued licenses, and we continue to issue licenses. Right now, where we are with the 9 MRTA license types, we have our proposed regulations. They were out, and they were out for the 60-day public comment period, which closed February 13th. And so now we're in the process of reviewing the wonderful feedback that we got from New Yorkers across the state. And if we make substantial changes, which, we think we know what we're doing, but, we're also in the theoretical. And so there are people on the operational, and they're like, actually, you might want to think about this or do this. And so the public comment period, I suspect that we will make changes. And so then we'll put the proposed regs out for another 45-day public comment period. And then we bring them back in, make some final tweaks, and then we'll release the permanent regulations. Thereafter, we'll be able to start issuing for, we'll have the applications for the different licenses. Again, the only license type that we do not put out any proposed regs yet, because we're in the process of writing those regulations, is the on-site consumption lounge. So I would say, like summer, fall, we should have things. I will also add this. There will be people that tells you this is what OCM is doing next, but they don't work for OCM. Right? So please sign up for our website to get updated information. Like, we are the best source for information. And additionally, I will say we have, again, 2 boards. We have our Cannabis Control Board, and actually the chair of our board, another fierce Brooklynite, Tremaine Wright. So our board meetings are on our website. And so you can just, there's a section of our website that is just for the boards. I'll drop that link in. And so please feel free to join us for our board meetings if you can. And then we also have the cannabis, we have our CAB Cannabis Advisory Board, and those meetings are also on WebEx. And so please feel free to join us for those meetings. And so there you'll get to see and hear things. You'll get to see the board vote for the Cannabis Control Board, vote on regulations, licensees. And so really it is open to the public. And for those of you who may have time, it would really be good for you to just, familiarize yourself. And again, this is the place where you get the information.
We thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you
It
so
is
much,
totally
Mr.
my
Davis, for your
pleasure.
question and for your time, all this information, the patience of all the questions we had for you, and all that information, that wealth of information that you dropped in the chat. We appreciate you. And thank you for the access and the invitation to attend any of the board meetings. We really, really appreciate that and you. Okay, so if there's anything further.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
And I look forward to continuing to work with you all, and we'll continue to send information to the community board. Again, within 24 or 48 hours, you'll get the slides and the links, as well as the information on the case, clarification on the hours of operation. Yeah, so thank you.
Okay. Awesome.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Many
Thank
thanks.
you.
Blessed evening, everyone. Thank you.